Books in Canada was a monthly magazine that reviewed Canadian literature, published in print form between 1971 and 2008. In its heyday, it was the most influential literary magazine in Canada. Foundation. One of the co-founders of Books in Canada in 1971 was the radio producer, book publisher and jazz music columnist Val Clery. 1924 to 1996. He decided the magazine was needed after writing a report for the Canadian Book Publishers Council on promotion of books in Canada, and was the first editor of the magazine. The journal received subsidies from the Canadian government. It was published by Bedford House Publishing Corp. Contents. Books in Canada included reviews of Canadian poetry, literature and non-fiction books. Authors such as Margaret Atwood, Margaret Lawrence, B.P. Nichol and Michael Ondarthia contributed reviews. It also included interviews with authors and profiles of authors, and other topics. The author, journalist and second-hand bookstore owner Donald Herbert Bell, 1936 to 2004, wrote a column called Found Books that described his activity locating and selling books. History. Books in Canada was the most comprehensive book review journal in the 1980s and early 1990s, giving the broad overview of the Canadian literary scene that was valued by writers who wanted to keep in touch. Books in Canada appeared 9 times per year. It was sold in bookstores and newsstands across the country, and by subscription. Circulation was about 12,000 per issue. According to Stephen Hennion, it was sometimes facile, and sometimes paid too much attention to activity in Toronto. But it published reviews by freelancers from across the country and covered almost all Canadian fiction and poetry publications. The magazine was readable, light and journalistic. Books in Canada was acquired by Adrian Stein in 1995. The magazine was published through Stein's company named the Canadian Review of Books Limited. Olga Stein, wife of Adrian Stein, edited the journal. The Steins converted Books in Canada to a new format. Hennion suggests that it became more selective about what it chose to review, ignoring important works in favor of obscure academic books and lengthy opinion columns. Circulation dropped sharply. Early in 2000, the journal suspended publication. In 2001, Adrian Stein made a deal with Amazon.com, an online book retailer, which generated some controversy. Stein sold Amazon the electronic rights to old reviews, while Amazon provided cash and advertising to the journal, which resumed publishing in July 2001. With a new Amazon arrangement, print circulation increased dramatically to 100,000 copies per issue while subscriptions remained the same. Amazon offered every Canadian customer a complimentary copy of the publication in the mail. In its last years, Books in Canada was sometimes narrowly focused on Toronto, sometimes attempted to address the global market. The Canada Council for the Arts, Ontario Arts Council and Canadian Heritage Magazine Fund reduced or dropped funding. The magazine published an extensive defense of the Canadian newspaper publisher Conrad Black before his trial for fraud in the U.S. The January-February 2008 issue had an article titled "The Knotted Knickers of Naomi Klein," with a caricature of the author. The magazine continues to provide an online archive of its reviews. First Novel Award. Books in Canada established its prestigious Books in Canada First Novel Award in 1976. It was later sponsored by Smith Books, a bookseller, and known as the Smith Books Books in Canada First Novel Award. When Smith Books was acquired by Chapters in 1995, the award was renamed the Chapters Books in Canada First Novel Award. Later the award became the Amazon ca. Books in Canada First Novel Award. After Books in Canada closed, it became the Amazon ca. First Novel Award. Sources: